going to be reading Get Into Gear Stilton. It's Geronimo Stilton's book 54, chapters 5 to 7. So enough talking, guys. Let's get started. Chapter 5. Congratulations! It's a new record. The mayor got up to leave. Perfect, he said, an enormous smile on his face. Mr. Stilton, I'll see you in a week at the ceremony, and don't forget to bring the license. Of course, I stuttered. The license, yes, of course. I was sweating, and I felt sick to my stomach. I was overcome by total panic. My license had expired. I wouldn't be able to drive during the ceremony. What a mess. I didn't dare say anything to Grandfather. Instead, I decided to call my friend Petunia Prettypaws. The truth is, I have a huge crush on Petunia. But I can never get up the courage to ask her out on a date. Still, I called to ask for her help. Hi, G, Petunia answered the phone. She listened to my problem and came up with a good solution. You have to go to a very good driving school. Ask them what to do. Maybe you still have time to renew your license. I remembered that there was a little driving school right on my street. It was called the very best driving school in New Mouse City. So I figured out it had to be good. I thanked Petunia and headed straight there. Good morning. How may I help you? A kind-looking rodent asked sweetly. Well, I know how to drive. Yes, I do, but it's as if I don't. I tried to explain. I never drive, but I have a license, and I have to drive in a ceremony next week. And please, oh please, can you help me? Come this way, a shrill voice behind me shouted in reply. It's the owner of the driving school, Rusty Carr. He was a very well-dressed rodent in a suit and tie the color of cheddar cheese. His shiny eyes were as black as olives and as piercing as needles. Filled with hope, I handed him my license. He took a very quick look at the license and shook his head. I have 2 pieces of news for you, he said. First, the license has expired, and second, you have to retake the driving test. Retake the driving test? I wanted to cry. To get a driver's license, you need to pass both the written test and the road test. Rusty continued. I have to take 2 set tests, I asked. My whiskers trembled with fear. It's true that I hadn't driven in a long time, but I knew how to do it. I didn't have time to study for 2 tests. The ceremony was in 1 week, but I passed both the written and driving tests once, I argued, and I'm a very good driver even if I don't do it often. Quiet, 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 he ordered, and he gave me a sheet of paper with 10 questions on it. No excuses. If you think you know everything already, then take this quiz and let's see how you do. I glanced at the sheet and turned as green as a moldy piece of beer. I didn't know any of the answers. I did the best I could and then handed him the paper. With a red pencil, he began crossing out one thing after another. Not one correct answer, he announced. Absolutely none. Congratulations. You set a new record. Alright, this chapter is called Left right, stop. The written test was a disaster, but within a week, I had to drive in front of everybody I wailed. My whiskers were trembling from the stress. The mayor will be there, and the reporters, and TV news cameras. Oh, what am I gonna do? Please help me. Relax, Rusty assured me. All you have to do is take some driving lessons, do some studying, and both tests will be a breeze. Okay, where do I sign up, I asked. First, you have to fully commit yourself to learning how to drive, he warned. I'll commit myself, I promised. I'll yell at you if I have to. Understand? Rusty asked. Yes, I agreed, getting desperate. Yell at me all you want. If you're sure, Rusty replied hesitantly. I'm sure, I squeaked. Then hop in, Rusty told me. The first lesson is about to start. I buckled my seatbelt, turned on the left signal, checked the rearview mirror, and slowly began to pull away from the curb. Wait, Rusty shouted. You forgot to check your side mirrors. We don't want to be flattened like a slice of Swiss, do we? I looked in both side mirrors and saw that the coast was clear, so I began to proceed cautiously. The entire time, Rusty shouted commands at me. Turn left, now right, slow down, accelerate, now brake, now accelerate again, then turn right and right and right. My head was spinning from all his orders. Proceed straight, now go forward, go back, right, left, stop, brake. No, not like that. Can't you see we're merging? You have to remain alert and observant. I was trying my best, but it seemed like everything I did was wrong. Hey, what's the matter with you? Rusty asked. That's a crosswalk. Presidents have the right of way. Got it? What are you doing? That's a one-way street. Didn't you see the sign? He shook his head at me. Then things got even worse. Now it's going to get more difficult, Rusty warned me. You can never be distracted while driving, Mr. Stilton. It's very dangerous. I'm going to ask you questions to distract you, but you have to keep your concentration. You'll drive and answer me at the same time. Moldy mozzarella. This was not going to be good. So, how's work? Rusty began. What's your sister's name? What's 3 times 6 divided by 2 plus 18 minus 3? Answer me. Go ahead. Answer. It's fine, I stammered. Thea. 32? Now, turn right and merge into traffic, Rusty shouted. Now stop. I slammed on the brakes. Didn't you see the stop sign? Rusty scolded me. We were almost flattened like pancakes. Now, keep a safe distance from that truck full of money. I slowed down a bit, but Rusty continued to hound me. The stench may be vile, but you can't pass that truck, he continued. There's a solid line, and don't drive too close. If the truck stops short, we might hit it, and then that sticky load of manure will land right on top of us. I slowed down even more. What's that noise? Rusty asked. You scraped the bumper against that curb. Yikes! You missed hitting that post, but only by less than an inch. There's an ambulance coming. Don't you hear that siren? Yield and let it pass. Congratulations, you've broken another record. 10 mistakes in less than an hour. He shook his head. As far as that official ceremony with the mayor, there are only Two solutions, Rusty continued. Either get someone else to take your place, or start getting serious about these driving lessons. Humiliated, I lowered my head. I really am trying to be serious, I mumbled. Tell me what I have to do to improve. Rusty studied me intensely with his shiny black eyes. Every morning at 7 o'clock on the dot, you must have a written lesson, he said. I nodded in agreement. Then after that, you need to have a long driving lesson, he continued. Maybe, just maybe, you might pass the test. But I have to be truthful with you. Your situation is pretty desperate. I agreed to the lessons. What else could I do? Chapter 7. You're a loose cannon. From that day on, I arrived punctually at 7 o'clock every morning for my written lesson and my driving lesson. Then I raced to my office to work on the booklet on road safety for the mayor's office. On the morning of the fourth day, Rusty greeted me with a devilish grin. Well, let's see if you're ready, he said, rubbing his paws together. Then he began pointing to an enormous chart with lots of street signs as he shouted out one question after another. What does this sign mean? He asked. And this one? And how about this one? I froze. I couldn't remember anything. Bicycle path, I guessed. It was the first thing that popped into my head. No, maybe no entry to bicycles, or switch the circles. Caution geometry test ahead. Maybe right of way, or maybe I don't know. I was so stressed out, my tail was twisted into tiny knots. I couldn't remember anything. Rusty threw his paws in the air. I don't believe it, he exclaimed. You're a loose cannon. You're lucky your license expired because you really needed this refresher. You're a complete basket of nerves. But don't worry, I'll help you get through this. After the written lesson, I took my driving lesson. And then I went straight to the office to work on the road safety booklet. In the booklet, I tried to explain the importance of abiding by rules of the road. There were only 3 more days until the booklet was due. So I worked day and night, finally finished it and emailed it to the editor. Then I collapsed and fell asleep with my snout on top of my laptop computer. I dreamed that an enormous traffic cop was blowing his whistle and shaking his head as he wrote me a traffic ticket. You're not ready, Mr. Stilton, he said. You still have to work very hard. Very, very hard, yes. Extremely hard.